Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thrive After Divorce. And we are going to thrive today. I can feel it. This is going to be a power hour. And our guest today is Angelina Jamison. Welcome, Angelina.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Angelina, your bio is so interesting. You are very much into yoga. You have, pronounce it for me, yoga.
Yogini Angelina.
That's what I thought, Yogini Angelina. And you are one of the ambassadors for Forrest Yoga, which I've never heard of and I want to hear about. Okay. You are an internationally renowned model. You've been featured in numerous magazines as a fitness model and entrepreneur. And I'll get to the more of your bio because I have to say, when I just read the bio and just seen your photos, you're incredibly beautiful. Your body's insane.
Thanks.
And for anyone listening, take my word. But I thought of that saying, a picture says 1,000 words. But as I continued to read your bio, I thought, and it also leaves out 1,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
So I am so looking forward to hearing your journey through discovering yourself and finding your inner peace and doing that deep dive where you discovered yoga during a dark time in your life and brought that to being an advocate for women and children's rights. And so I'm just thinking, as beautiful as the outside and beaming light in all your messages, somewhere you went through a dark transition.
Oh, yes. It's been quite the journey. I mean, when I look back at this last decade and try to decipher and analyze how this whole situation that I was in happened, how did I attract it to me? Why did it happen? Which we'll dive deeper into it, but it's very heartbreaking on many levels, but also very enlightening and empowering.
Yeah.
And through the healing process that I've been going through the last 2 years, a little over 2 years, I've learned a lot about myself and just how strong, empowered, and that I am in getting comfortable in my own skin, and just constantly learning and evolving and growing from this whole situation. And then being able to understand the lesson behind this and understand my mission in life to move forward from healing from this and bringing awareness to other women and other people out there that have experienced the kind of trauma that I have experienced.
So to get a little bit what you're talking about, you have been in a very dangerous, dark, narcissistic, sociopath relationship.
Yes.
And when I read that, I immediately knew, and I thought, you truly lived Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, no doubt.
So, and it just shows that, because if somebody looked at you right now and they see the strong, beautiful woman who's rising from the ashes, or has risen from the ashes, but it also shows that anyone can be prey.
Oh, yes. I was a target. Absolutely. I was a target from the beginning. I was groomed. I was mind controlled for so long and gaslighted for so long. And my whole world was a complete illusion. My whole last 10 years was a complete lie. My marriage was a complete fraud. And
when did you find that out?
September.
I mean, while you were married, divorced?
Oh, no, when the veil was lifted, okay. September of 2019.
Okay.
I was already on my yoga journey, and I had already received my certifications, and throughout the years during my marriage, and practiced yoga passionately. And in due time, as I was surrounding myself with all these beautiful, empowered women that were on the same journey as me, there's a collective energy that is created.
Mhm.
And I noticed throughout the years in my marriage that it was getting worse. There was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, but I also lived in fear for so long. But then after a while, because you're so used to that kind of abuse, you just sweep it under the rug. He's having a bad day.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad that they kill your spirit.
Mhm.
And they just sit there and peel away layers of who you are to create what they want from you, just to control you. And when I look back at this whole experience, you know, could I have done things differently? I'm sure I could have. But when you are in the mud of it all, it's hard to see things when you're isolated from family, from your friends. And I was working a lot too while all of this was going on.
So did he encourage you, as you said, you were getting into yoga, getting your certificates, you've got the studio. Was he supportive and encouraging of that?
He was. Here's the
Okay.
interesting thing.
So that's surprising.
Yeah, it was one of those like a give and take kind of a thing, where he would raise me up and then knock me down. And he was very good. There's a word for that. I don't know. I can't even think of what it's called, but a lot of mind manipulation, mind control. And then basically he helped me in a lot of areas where I'm very grateful, because I learned a lot from him.
Mhm.
But he also spent a lot of time and energy trying to hide his dark, dirty little secrets.
Oh yeah, it's like a double personality somewhere.
Oh, he didn't have just a double. This was a multiple personality.
But I mean, somewhere they're hiding it. It might be just deception with their taxes and how they really behave. But somewhere, or it could be porn, or I mean, but somewhere there's something that they don't want the world to know.
Oh, no doubt. And he was a person in a very high position. He had a lot of authority in the community itself. So he didn't just affect me in a negative way, or my child in a negative way, or his immediate family. He affected a community and hundreds of people from here to across the ocean. He was living a complete lie.
And that's what I really, when I have these conversations about these high conflict personalities, we'll say, I want people to hear it and also know it's not just your spouse. I mean, it could be your minister at church. It can be your boss at work. It could be someone you really look up to, but you need to be aware of the certain signs, like your instincts, or if something doesn't feel right.
You know, like I said, if I could have done things different, I would have. My biggest mistake was ever meeting this person, but I went to him. I actually went to him for healing. I needed help. And back in like nearly 12 years ago, I was sick with toxic mold. And I went to doctors, they couldn't help me. I went to homeopathic doctors, they only could do so much. And I heard that my ex-husband had helped somebody cure them of toxic mold and other alignments that, you know, like, I'm like, this guy's different and he's special, so I'm gonna go see him. So you go to somebody and you start to build that trust with them, because he did help me overcome.
Well, because that's how they start. I mean, they're gonna put you on the pedestal, love you, value.
Oh yeah, and he was good at it. He was a charmer.
Yeah.
He was very poetic. He had a way with words, you know, and obviously, you know, a decade ago, I'm not the same person I am now that I was then. I was very naive, but now, you know, I can see and feel the frequencies of people that I'm a little bit more guarded and aware. I'm like,
I call it my narcdar, right? Like you get a radar, but it's like for narcissists or high conflict, you're like, you get a chill, like, you know, most of the time. But you say
once you've experienced.
Yeah, once you've experienced, but I understand when you say, I wish I could have done it differently or had I known, but yet what you're doing with it, it's like the universe knew you were strong enough to handle it and turn it into service and go from being
Broken.
Broken, but from being the prey to the protector. You're now out to protect people.
Oh yeah. I'm, now that I am more aware of the real reality that exists out there. I mean, what happened, and obviously we haven't even gotten to the meat of that, but what happened is just so sadistic, so defiled on so many levels because of the amount of people that were involved in something like this, that there's this fire inside of me that really the only thing that I can do right now is focus on healing myself, healing my daughter, and rolling my sleeves up and praying like I've never prayed before to get the justice that we deserve, that my daughter deserves.
And I would think that's when you have someone like your ex that we're talking about, with all these people that admire him and follow him, to get them to believe your story, or at least in the beginning, that had to have been a challenge.
To get people to believe my story?
No, I mean, like, if you're coming out of it, like, this isn't such a great guy. If a lot of people are thinking he's the guru, he's the healer, the great guy, and you're one of the person close to him going, I don't think he's something ain't right. Something ain't right. And I don't think he's what's on your flyer.
Yeah, he is as evil as it comes. And his karma will eventually come back to him. You can't run from karma.
No.
And I believe, like, how do I put this? It's a feeling when you've been connected to somebody and married to somebody, and I'm very in tune and very empathic to a lot of things. He will not get away with what he did. Nobody ever gets away with what they do. Eventually karma comes to collect.
It does. And I think it's important, if you're the victim of a situation like this, just my opinion is to let karma be karma, and we don't get to pick what justice is.
Exactly. And I've had to throw my hands up, surrender to the whole situation, because there's times when I want to sit and try to control the situation, but I can't. And that's part of my healing process too, because the anger and rage that I've had inside of me for what he has done to my most precious treasure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like I said, we haven't gotten to that part, but as a mother, you want, when the blindfold is lifted and you see that and you realize, you see the pain that he had caused and the amount of work that has been put into healing my child these last 2 years has been quite a eye-opener, an experience.
Yeah. So you're having all this to deal with, and yet you put so much into yoga. How did yoga transition into transmuting a little bit of that pain for you?
Oh gosh, yoga is very powerful and very healing. Meditation, I've been surrounded by, in this world for nearly 17 years. Most people would turn their back on the whole, on the whole world, that whole industry and spirituality after what I've been through. But no, the support that I received from here to across the ocean of all these people who heard about what happened was just immeasurable, because I felt the prayers coming in. There's no, there's really no words to describe the power of that divine love and support of all of my whole Sangha, my friends, my family, rallying around when all of this was revealed.
You're
And
so really in it. I mean, this is new.
Oh.
This is fresh. This isn't like you're 10 years out and you found yoga. You're stepping into your own power and believing into yourself now actively.
Absolutely. It is my yoga practice. It is the love, the support of all the people that I've had that have been praying for us constantly and to heal, you know, because what my child and I came out of, technically I shouldn't be alive. You know, this would actually make a person go into a deeper, darker world of self-sabotage, being a complete man-hater.
Yeah.
But my heart is, I'm not going to allow myself to go there.
No,
I have.
I mean, I saw that you wrote Finding Forgiveness, which is for you.
Oh, and that's hard. That's very hard. It's challenging, but I will say this. I oscillate back and forth. Okay, you know, all right. So I know his history, but then again, you know, there's this internal battle that I have. Well, how much of what he used to share is true? Because everything is a lie. But then if this is what happened to him at a young age, and he was the victim and then eventually became the predator, but then here he is representing himself as this guru healer.
Yeah.
But what he's really doing is hiding behind the religion, the whole spirituality of everything, and using that position of being in power to be the predator that he is in this playground that he created, where people come to him so that he could prey on them as he did me and my child.
See, in a situation like that, forgiveness is hard enough, but in something like that, even just starting with forgiving yourself, is one of the biggest steps. That when we put ourselves in that position, and then it affects us and we affect people, and it's starting with just like, I have to forgive myself.
You know, I feel like there's times when I look at the trauma that my child has experienced, the pain that she's in, as it comes out, and they come out in layers. You know, she could be fine for a while, but then all of a sudden, you know, like, I need my mom. I'm going through something. I will stop everything to be there, because that's when you have to nip it in that moment to help them, because something's coming to the surface. And talking about it, communication is so powerful. That is how we heal, because you're getting it out of the body. You know, and if it's anything that I've learned as a yoga practitioner, as a Dharma meditation practitioner, that everything that I was taught, that I learned, and receiving all this education, this knowledge, and all this wisdom from all the teachers and the masters before me that have taught me, okay, I'm either gonna let it go to waste, or I'm gonna believe in what I have been teaching for the last decade myself.
Yeah, when you have to actually walk the walk.
So it's kind of like I was taking a crash course of, first of all, I was given a crash course of what it is to live with the ultimate narcissistic psychosociopath. But now, how much faith am I going to have within myself to believe that everything that I learned is going to work for myself as I'm out there teaching everybody else?
Yes. A question I was thinking before we had started and I was meeting you is, I thought, you obviously take incredible care of your body. You can, your nutrition, all that is discipline. It's a lot of discipline. But what I think so many people don't realize is how much your mental health is discipline.
It is. And it's not always easy because I'm still human. I am very sensitive. I have my own insecurities and I work through it. I do a lot of self-inventory. When I'm feeling a certain way, I have to isolate myself to understand why I'm feeling like this. What do I need to change? I'm about to turn 44 now. I'm in a different mindset. I have to take everything that I have ever learned my last 44 years and transform that to really step into my place in life and learn to believe in myself.
And do you think, since you do have the discipline to do both, if you weren't taking care of your mind with all your mindful exercises and things you do, could you still take care of your body the way you do, and vice versa? If you didn't feel like your body was being taken care of, like, do you see they really go hand in hand? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
you got to take care. They both go hand in hand. You got to take care of your mental as well as your physical.
Yeah.
And especially through the trauma that we have experienced. I mean, it all starts right here.
It does, but I think that's like why I wanted to create this show. Part of it, bring in experts, is because I think people just think, go to the gym, go to whatever, take care of my body. I'm like, you have to go to a mental gym. You need experts. You need coaches.
Yeah, I was working. Actually, I'm still working. I'm working with coaches physically. I personal trainers that have helped me, nutrition coaches that I have worked with, and I have close friends that I could always confide in, and colleagues.
Yeah.
That have helped me immensely on my path. Because when all of this truth was revealed, I had lost a lot of weight. I didn't eat for 4 days straight. So when I stress, I don't eat. And when you don't eat, you lose nutrition, your mind gets clouded, you can't think straight. So, and on top of that, I was in shock for 3 months. It took me 3 months to pull myself out of it. Because it's like, what the hell just happened? Like,
well, your whole world flipped.
Everything. And it gets even more interesting because when all that stuff had came to the surface, my child and I left for safety, and I needed to go back to get, my belongings and all that stuff. But then he goes and moves in these lowlifes into a fully furnished home, had them sign a lease, sleep in my bed, and practically use my damn toothbrush. I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. The people that lived in our house stole so many things of mine and my daughter's, personally, jewelry, computers, electronics, just you name it. Because when I went in there to retrieve that 2 months later, because I was, still in shock, scared, I did not want to run into him. He was actually on the run for a while because there was an investigation going on. It's just like, even after leaving the house, it was just one thing after another, one shock after another of learning just how sick this human, I can't even call him a human being. He's a monster.
Yeah. So now, in that time, you took the shock. Someone's living in your house. You're finding things out about the life you thought you had, your daughter, everything. And somewhere in that, you continued to get strong. You're helping people. And you shared that you are working on sharing it all in a book to help.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's still in the works. And eventually, we haven't even gotten to really write the whole book out yet,
Yeah.
but it's in the beginning stages. The seed has been planted. And on top of that, like I said, we're only 2 years out of this situation. It's still pretty fresh.
Right.
And as I'm moving forward, making the changes that I'm making in my personal life, I'm now getting back out there. I took a sabbatical from everything, from work, from teaching, everything, because I really needed to I needed to heal and rebalance myself. But the yoga and working out helped me immensely to keep my sanity. Meditation, because I knew if I didn't, there's times that I didn't do it for weeks on end, and I just found myself becoming more depressed. But then when I would get back onto it, and I realized just how powerful those teachings are for myself. Yeah. And if I believe in teaching it, I have to believe it, that it's going to work for myself too.
Right. And that's kind of what I was asking a couple questions back, that like, if you let one go, the other one kind of follows. Like, it's very hard to stay mentally in shape when you give up, because our bodies have to somehow release it.
Oh yeah.
And even if you release it physically, if you're not helping your mind, we reprogram your mind to think differently, to talk to itself differently. If you don't keep that up, then your mind falls. And you kind of have to, I just want people to see that even someone like you, beautiful, they would see a picture, they would think her life's easy peasy, breezy, cover girl, but to hear it is work from you. You have it because you've disciplined yourself.
Yeah. I like to call, like, when I went through the whole healing process, the detoxing evil diet.
Oh, I love that.
Because literally, everybody heals in their own way. Mm-hmm. And, some people are emotional eaters. Me, I just don't eat. I'm so stressed out. I can't even hold anything down. And my daughter's the same way. She lost nearly 20 pounds herself. And, and I'm watching her go through the process. She's still pretty tiny, but beautiful and feisty and full of light, full of fire and full of knowledge and just in wisdom, surprisingly, as young as she is. Just
well, she's had you as an example.
Thank you. She's strong. And I learned that as I heal, as her mother, the stronger I become, the stronger she becomes herself too. Because we as mothers, mm-hmm. we carry that child in our womb. Yeah. And when you pray for your child or anything, just use your intent to help. I have literally watched her go through her transformation as I'm going through my transformation. And see, that's something nowadays, actually something that's very common for what my child and I have been through, where most mothers, or, people would turn the other cheek out of embarrassment and shame. No, not me. I'm going to face this head on. I'm going to get the justice that we deserve. We're going to heal from this. We're going to overcome this. And we're going to help others in the process of moving this forward.
And you're healing future generations of your family by doing that.
Yes.
If you didn't do it, it's going to fall on your daughter, your grandchildren. So you truly are healing people.
Generational karma.
Yes.
It's generational karma. And by becoming aware of something like that and having the support that I do with the Sangha that I have surrounding me when they do all these special prayer ceremonies to help heal our ancestral karma, mm-hmm. I've watched it transform.
I'm sure, and feel it. Now, for
my whole
women
self,
listening,
my daughter, my family.
For women listening that maybe they don't feel very physical right now. They feel the trauma, and they're just thinking of like, how can I start to ease my way into yoga or something? What do you tell those women that maybe would come to you?
You know what the hardest thing about yoga is? People think it's the asanas, doing the postures and the stretching and the meditating. All it is just showing up.
Yeah.
Once you show up, the sacred space is created.
Mhm.
You're in the energy, surrounded by other people who are there for the same thing.
Yeah.
Even if you're not doing the stretches and you're just sitting there.
And would that work with online too? Like for somebody who maybe isn't going out right now because of different reasons, or
You know
they're
what?
embarrassed
I
to
think
get
it
started?
would. Absolutely. Absolutely, because energy is energy.
Yeah.
We are all connected. There is no distance.
No.
And when we could do something like this online and connect people worldwide like that, I mean,
Yeah.
we're all connecting into the same space and sharing that same energy. So yes, I think it would still be very effective.
I read in Glennon Doyle's book, I can't remember which book she wrote, but she talked about one of her biggest breakthrough was, I think it was Glennon Doyle, going to a yoga studio, a hot yoga. And she didn't want to stay. She thought she was going to die. And the instructor just said, just sit on the mat. Don't move. I don't know if this is verbatim, but the idea, sit on the mat and don't move.
Mm-hmm.
And people around her were doing yoga. She broke down crying. Like that was her biggest breakthrough, just being in that energy and just sitting still.
It is. It's that stillness, to listen to the silence between the noise.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to practice.
That
and even
silence between the noise.
And even I have to take my own advice. The things that I preach and teach myself, sometimes I'm like, okay, Angelina, you need to listen to your own advice too and do it yourself and execute it.
Yeah.
And even even through all the trauma that I've experienced, my mind was a ball of yarn. I had to unravel the riddle and mysteries of my life to understand, how the heck did this happen to me? I'm a very highly spiritual person. And for something like this to happen, how did I not see it? How did I not feel it? Because a person who spends 24/7, literally, and I used to see my ex-husband sitting there laying on the couch, like, man, you think too much. You need to get out. But it's because he was sitting here thinking, okay, how can I create this chaos over here to divert attention away from me so that everybody is all busy dealing with their issues, because he's so busy. I mean, that takes a lot of time and energy to think.
Do you know what? And to keep people apart and their stories not to collide. But you know what? The high conflict personalities, they can't stand the silence. Like when you say, listen to the silence between the noise, they can't stand themselves. So they can't stand that silence, and they need to keep that mind game and like a virtual board in their head of like, I picture like a detective when they're solving a murder case and they're moving the pegs and it's like their mind is always doing that.
And you know why they can't stand the silence in their minds? Is because it's a war going on in their head that they can't face their own pain and their issues.
Right.
And that's where he was at. And those are the things that ticked me off, that I realized it's like, here you are preaching about healing and helping and all these people, but you are the most damaged person in this room, in this circle, messing up everybody else's world. But yet everybody put their trust in him. They believed in him because he had such strong conviction.
Yeah. It makes me wonder. I've had a couple clients that they wouldn't even tell me who their ex-husband was. I mean, I didn't ask. So I'm like, and they were like in LA, and they were like, because he's so well known and he controls so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary to me when I'm like, these women that are saying my ex-spouse who has so much mind control and so much power, and to see how dark they really can be.
Well, a lot of people in those high leadership roles,
Yeah, they're
obviously
narcissists.
they are narcissists.
Yeah, they
They're
want to be
very
adored.
controlling, and you take that power away from them because that's how that's their identity.
Yeah.
What are they left with? What are they going to
Right.
do? You know, it's a dangerous
Well, they
game.
run. Like you said, yours fleed.
He fled, and I haven't talked to him since I left the house personally, other than when in September, on September 24th, when I went to court for our mediation, and that was the day that my divorce was granted. I saw him up on the monitor, and it was a very emotional day because my daughter was with me, and he did not look well. He did not look well at all.
You didn't look well.
He looked very sick. And he, to see him on that monitor, it's just like the fire inside of me just wanted to reach through that screen. It's like, you friggin' defiled SOB, the damage and the pain and the trauma that you caused.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I'm sitting here white knuckling it, like, okay, just love and light, love and light, love and light. But boy, I just, you know, the things that go
But
through
you
your
also love light and you're human. Like if you think of the stages of grief, where you go through anger, like it's just part of the grief. Like in grief and trauma, like you have to go through those. You can't suppress them.
No, you can't. That's where illness and sickness begins.
You know what I've loved this whole conversation, but I always like to find a couple simple things. I like to take people's excuses away. Like if we're bringing you this information and we're sharing our stories, we're going to have your excuses taken away that you have to, if you choose to, help yourself. Mm-hmm. But like you said, the silence between the noise, when you can sit with that. Like if that's your first challenge, to just sit with the silence between the noise, it's free. You can do it.
Go anywhere.
You can do it anywhere. You can do it in your car, waiting in a drive-through. I don't, but if that is your first baby step, and then I love the visual of you had to unwind the ball, or the ball,
unwind the ball of yarn in your mind.
Yeah, that if everyone just stop, sit with the silence, picture your life has just become a knotted up ball of yarn, and you can slowly
unravel it.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it in record speed. And you know what happens if you unravel too fast and hard. You get a harder knot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why it's taken me 2 years to finally come back to feeling more confident with who I am, feeling confident in the direction that I'm going, knowing the people that are manifesting in my life. I'm actually here pretty soon. Well, Anna Forrest, she is the creator of Forrest Yoga, which is the style of yoga that I teach.
Wait, I've never heard of Forrest Yoga. And I'm not a big yogi to know all the types, but I mean, I know a few, but I haven't heard of Forrest. But it was interesting when I read it.
Well, Jose and Anna, their husband and wife, they're world-renowned yoga teachers. Anna Forrest, she is the writer of this book called Fierce Medicine.
Oh, I love that title.
And
Fierce Medicine.
I received my teachings through Hibs Yoga out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Heba received her teachings from Anna Forrest. So I took the teacher's training, yoga studio out here several years ago. I want to say like in 2017. And that's where I started to become, you know, a little bit more empowered and aware. And 2017, 18, so 2019, I had been practicing, like really practicing intensively for myself and teaching it as well. And it was in September of 2019, actually, prior to that, I went to this woman's cacao ceremony by this beautiful lady, Dia, who hosts these gatherings for women. And I just noticed prior to that, my daughter was building up a lot of anger. And I was like, what's going on here? Here I am, I teach yoga, you know, my ex-husband, he teaches meditation. Why is my daughter acting like this? She should be, you know, happy and at peace. But it just started to progressively get worse. But then so did my ex-husband's behavior. I'm like, just something was off. There was just a lot of imbalance in disharmony in my household. So when I went to this woman's cacao ceremony, I just remember writing out affirmations of like, just, you know, please help me to reveal some things that I may not be seeing. And 2 days later, after that cacao ceremony, I went on my daughter's computer. And I never do that because I always give my child privacy.
Yeah.
And somehow I was able to get into her computer. And that's when I found text messages that were exchanged with my ex-husband and her. And when I read all that stuff, my heart dropped.
And was she a child, a teenager?
She was 19 at the time.
Okay.
So my thing is like, how could I miss this? Now I have to really figure out, how do I get to my daughter to pull it out of her to tell me, because she acted like Pollyanna. You know, she acted like she had this perfect life, but I also noticed that she was getting angry, and here she is, 19 years old. I'm like, why don't you have a boyfriend, or, you know, like, you know, normal things that teenagers do. But she was going to college, she was working, and she was getting excellent grades, just driving, hanging out with friends, but I did not know what was going on right under my nose. And that's the part where I have to learn to forgive myself, because it really takes me off that these defiled acts and behavior and the assault was happening right when either I'm sleeping, when I was in my meditation room doing my practice, or when I'm taking my baths, or when I would come home from work and my ex-husband would say, honey, why don't you go across the street and treat yourself to a massage? And I'm like thinking, wow, you're really cool. Okay, cool. All right. You're in a good mood. You're going to treat me to a massage. I'll go, you know, I had a long day at work. I'm going to go treat myself. That's when he was assaulting my child. And so it took me some time to pull this truth out of my daughter, because I'm like, how do you know, where do you go with this?
Do you think she's, not to pry on her privacy at all, but did you feel she felt threatened, or do you think she was brainwashed by him?
All the above.
And thought it was like a good
He threatened her that if she said a single word, I would die. So my daughter spent the last 7.5, 8 years protecting me.
Wow.
Because he told her, you ever utter a single word to any human being, your mother will die. Can you imagine a 12-year-old carrying that with her all the way till 19?
No, and I'm also thinking children are so sensitive. She probably knew he meant it.
Yes.
Like it wasn't just
he obviously meant it, because
like she could sense his darkness.
Because throughout the years now, when I connect the dots, as I have these last 2 years, I suffered a lot of food poisoning, a lot. And the people,
like you would eat something and 6 hours later, you're like, I don't feel good. I must have got food poisoning from that taco. Or
yes. Because even 2 weeks prior to me leaving the house, when all of this was revealed, I just remember, because I was kind of setting the stage to eventually get out of there. And I just remember I got so sick, and he was the chef in the house. He made sure to always cook my food, but he was also very abusive and manipulative in a sense of like, you don't know how to cook. And, you know, I cook all the time, but he didn't want me to do the cooking because he wanted to do the cooking for me. And to understand what I have been through, I mean, I did quantum healing hypnotherapy, QHHT, to get to the root of everything, to understand all the things that have happened to me so I can heal from this situation. And I will never truly know what he poisoned me with, but I do remember but that last experience that I had, literally was within minutes, I got really, really sick, violently sick. And he always had what is called kanji ready, you know, for when you get sick, that I could eat to help, you know, heal me, which is like made of like a rice, like a soup, you know. And
did anybody else get sick? Like, was anybody else eating the same food, or
everybody else ate different
normally? Oh, they ate different food. Okay, because normally a family meal, or when everyone eats, you'd be like, we all got sick, or
no, I got sick because his way of making me feel special was making me a special plate that he knew that I would like.
He puts the dye in diet.
Yes, I ended up going to urgent care a few days later, and I just remember I was shaking and shivering, and they put an IV in me, and you know, they did all these tests, and they ended up finding a bacteria in my digestive system that wasn't normal, that they've never seen before. And you know, till this day, I'll never truly know, but I remember that day when I did get sick, he's like, "Oh, wife, are you okay? Oh, maybe it was the oil and it had botulism or something in it." And I'm just sitting there, yes, oh my God, it's you, you're poisoning me. Because, you know, it took me a month to finally pull it out of my child, what was going on. And within a few days, she was out of the house when she finally broke down and told me. She's like, "Mom, you don't understand. I've held this in. I've never told a single soul." And I was like, it's just that shock that comes in. Like, you can't think straight. There are no words. The adrenaline, the weakness, I was broken. Now I needed to figure out how to get my child out and get myself out. My focus was just, my daughter eventually got out. And when I made a few phone calls and stuff to get the help that I needed, I just remember, you know, okay, it's on this Sunday, I need to go back to the house because on Monday, you know, I got to get all this paperwork. I got to get, you know, just legal paperwork and stuff. But then I remember just getting a text message from my colleagues: do not go back to the house, because we're in a dangerous moment that he could snap. And if
when you say your colleagues, you mean the women at the yoga studio, or?
No, my friends who, my ex-husband had ran a temple.
Okay.
And the people where he had inherited the temple from, which spreads from Los Angeles to the United Kingdom and stuff, when they heard of everything that happened, they're like, he needs to be unplugged from all this power.
That's a great way of putting it. Like, literally
unplugged.
I picture those blow up things that were just like,
because he had massive amounts of spiritual support from the temple, but also from the native community. And once word spread of what was happening, nobody wanted nothing to do with him. He was getting excommunicated. Now, it was very important for me and my child to be in safety as all of this was going on, because had I had said something, I mean, things could have turned out really different. He could have snapped. When
Yeah,
my
no,
daughter
you
left the
were,
house, I was like scared, like if I was ever going to see her again. And then when I had received that text message, do not go back to the house. Don't even worry about getting anything that you need. It'll come to you. And I ended up leaving on that Sunday and never looked back.
and he's pretty much left you alone.
No.
Oh, well,
No. You think these kinds of people just disappear?
I don't, but you said you hadn't seen him and you're divorced.
I hadn't seen him or talked to him.
So I meant he's not like at your door.
Well, or so I thought. But when I worked in the casino industry, and I knew he showed up at my work. I mean, I had seen him, but I could feel him. And there was a few times that when I was at work, because if he wasn't coming in, he was sending other people in. So my alertness was very expansive at that time. I was constantly watching over my shoulder. I'm still watching over my shoulder.
I'm sure you slept with one eye open for real.
I have not had a real good night's sleep in 2.5 years. And prior to that, I used to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep for 10 hours because my body needs it. And I could literally program my mind to do that. But it hasn't been like that these 2 years. But as time has gone by, I've been able to, get a little bit better sleep because I can sense that, okay, he's gotten quiet, but I'm still on guard, and he's still out there. Yeah. And the case is still open. The investigation is just, it's there.
Yeah.
Justice, when they did the investigation, they found a bunch of child pornography on the computer.
That's major.
But here's the thing, because it was a family computer, okay, we're not going to prosecute, but we're going to still keep this case open. This is the thing about the legal system. That's just, it is what it is.
So if any women are in your shoes right now with their daughters or sons, I don't want to, and because my first thought would be like, what do I do? How do I stay safe? How do I not end up in jail by making some emotional reaction? Because especially that kind of personality could spin it on you so fast that you're crazy or something. So what steps for a mother in these shoes I don't even know what to ask or what to say.
It's almost like surround yourself with support. Talk to somebody that you can trust. Get the help that you need and pray. Keep your child close to you. And
but would you say go to the police? Don't go to the
Well, we ended up when we left the house, I went to a friend's house and her husband was a cop.
Okay.
And my daughter at first did not want to prosecute charges because she was scared of what was going to happen to him because they're trauma bonded.
Oh yeah.
And you want to protect your abuser. But now that we're out of this, she's all ready to I just want this to be over, Mom. I want justice. What he did is just evil. And at that time, because we had told my friend and her husband, who was a cop, he's like, I can't ignore this. We have to file. So within moments, we had detectives over at my friend's house at that time, and charges were filed and things were put in motion. The investigation was what had begun. And it was a tough time. One of the hardest things of my entire life.
I'm sure. And for people listening, if you think you're dealing with a narcissist, I want to make sure they know that your story is the extreme. I mean, it's a scale, it's a spectrum. It's like it starts off here, narcissist.
But it builds up throughout.
It builds up, it gets down to malignant narcissist, then you move into sociopath, then you go into psychopath, and you really hit the spectrum of
Sadistic.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really because that is not common behaviors that are just narcissistic or sociopath. It's like you really makes me just sit here and wonder, like, we see all these leaders on TV, to magazines, internet.
There's a dark world out there that people put trust in these people.
Yeah, I'm like, who do we follow, or who do people follow?
Listen to yourself.
Yes.
Feel with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And learn to trust yourself first before anybody else.
I always say that when people are like, who could I trust again? Well, like, you have to start with trust. If you trust yourself, when your mind says leave, when your stomach says leave, when you know this isn't right, you trust yourself.
Yes.
And you don't care what anybody else says.
Yeah, I wish I would have listened to my intuition way back when. But,
we can't.
You live and learn.
And they're experts at picking out their prey. Like,
spent their whole lives studying this.
Yeah.
When I moved out, when I finally was able to gather everything out of the house and throw everything in boxes, and as I was unpacking, I found books upon books of ancient ninja techniques of mind control and mind manipulation. And he had them duct tape front to back, and sexual addictions. And I'm just sitting here, how did I not see these all these years? Because my mind's not programmed.
No, and you think you're with someone you trust. It would make sense. Like, I'm learning these techniques to protect people from these people, or they can always justify it. You can't, I don't think you can look back.
You can't.
It's like buying a new shiny car and you get a lemon. You couldn't have known.
I didn't get a lemon. I got a complete dud.
No, you got more than a dud. But I mean,
a cockroach.
You got the whole. But I mean, you couldn't know. It looks shiny and beautiful.
And when you're not exposed to that, that's like the furthest thing from my mind. I don't think that kind of crazy. It's the situation made me crazy and lose my mind. But I also know what it is to be at peace within myself. So it was kind of like I'm swimming up to the top of the ocean and trying so hard to come out of the world of samsara, to stand above the water so I can see clearly and breathe. And once you get to that space, that meditative space of stillness, things start to make sense. Clarity starts to come in. And all you can do is breathe through it all, understand it, find forgiveness within yourself, as challenging as it may be at times.
It is.
And know that, all right, this happened, it's in my past, I'm putting it in my past, I'm still healing from it, but I'm going to move forward, and so is my daughter. And if we can take anything from this situation, it is that you have the power within yourself to heal yourself.
You do.
And learn to find forgiveness within yourself. And that we deserve to be happy. We deserve to live a happy life. We deserve all the goodness and beauty that the heavens will pour upon us. And just be open to receiving that love, that light, that knowledge, that wisdom to continue moving forward on your path.
That's a great thought. And yeah, for the people living this right now or something similar, it's when we're in a happy time in life, it's so easy to be like, everything happens for a reason, or God won't give you anything you can't handle, and you're all full of these little, and then when life hits you and you have to really listen to those from the other side of the coin.
Well, there's that saying, God gives his toughest warriors the hardest battles.
Oh, I love that.
Well, damn, I must be one hell of a warrior to overcome something like this, because there is a fear side in me that comes out, and I certainly don't tolerate too much these days. And I have no filter, but I've learned to tame that a little bit. because I don't like people who use and abuse people.
No. Well, you're a warrior.
And it's a very common thing. So yes.
You're a warrior. Your words showed it too. The words you used in your bio are very strong, like you champion for people, or you know, you're turning this, I had it written down, you know, a tumultuous, dark time you wrote in your life, and you're turning it into power.
Transform the negative into something positive. So if you
transmute
did
it.
something so dark, which we have been, and you transform that darkness into something powerful, strong, that can make a difference, then
look out.
What's that?
I said, then it's like, look out, world. She's transformed.
This phoenix is certainly rising from the ashes. I'm ready to spread my wings and fly and get out there. And but at the end of the day, we always have to work on ourselves and fill our cup up. Heal ourselves. You know, my meditation practice is something that I do on a daily, even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, couple hours, even a few days, where I isolate myself from talking to anybody, because I need to cultivate my own energy first before I can get out there and help others. Well,
I appreciate all the work you're doing and that you're going to do for others. And if you could tell people, we'll list everything, but also just in your own words, where they can find you, what you have going on, coming up.
Right now I teach yoga. I have an online channel, which is called Yogini Angelina, where, you know, I have a bunch of videos up that teaches you some sequences and that you can do yoga in your own home meditation. And I'm getting back into creating more videos now. I've, you know, had to spend the last 2 years just cleaning up this mess. Still a work in progress. I also have on my Instagram, Yogini Angelina. You can find me there. And my name is Angelina Jamison. So I have done a lot of modeling, been featured on numerous magazines. So I feel like it's in the magazines that I've been in Las Vegas. I was on the cover of Las Vegas Entrepreneur magazine out here. Been on the cover of Surreal Fit and another cover of Sexy Greeks and FHM, which is an international magazine where I was featured in that as well. And to me, to be in these magazines, it's about embracing that that feminine goddess within ourselves, and it really felt good to do those magazines, because I was suppressed for so long and not able to embrace that within myself, because when you're in that kind of a toxic marriage, he was very smothering. And I just feel like now I get to embrace my divine feminine goddess
and be seen.
Yes, and be seen. And
because that's hard. It's safer to not be seen when we're that kind of partner.
It's extremely hard. But now I feel like I'm coming full force.
You are.
You know, I'm also kind of like learning to tone myself down, because there's just a lot of energy that I have that I want to get out there and just share what I have learned from all the teachers and masters before me, and continue to spread the knowledge and wisdom of yoga and meditation and lifestyle, health, wellness, and just share the love.
Keep going. Come back. We'll have everything listed for you. And you know, everything you're saying, part of it too is our age. I'm 50. And
you look great.
Oh, thank you. But I think when you come into your 40s, it's like you are coming into that queen energy, where they used to say maiden, mother, crone a lot of times, but it's maiden, mother, queen.
I love it.
Crone. And that queen energy was like, no one's going to mess with me anymore.
The force to be reckoned with.
It is a force. And you know what? This is getting off topic, but that's why society for so long made glamorize younger women. And this isn't anything about the maidens out there. You're beautiful, you're young, but because they're easier to suppress, for men to
Yes.
suppress.
Yes.
Where once women come into this energy, you know, that's why I'm like, why do men date younger women? Because they
Because they can
handle the
control them.
queen.
Yeah.
But they can't handle the queen unless you get a strong.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So-
It takes quite a educated and strong individual
and kind.
and kind. So
They can be happy for you and support you and cheer you on.
And that's important. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm still human. I have my insecurities.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of internal homework and still continue. And that's like going to be an endless thing till the day I die. But I will not close my heart to love. I deserve it, damn it, after what I've been through. And I won't tolerate certain behaviors. I will put my foot down if need be. But it takes a hell of a strong mind to still allow myself to be open to love, because that's where, when you open yourself up to that energy, people will try to take advantage of it. And because of what I've been through, they're gonna, you know, they'll either see me as like, well, you're weak-minded. No.
You're going to attract a different person because you're at a different vibration.
Yes.
And you're going to attract your equal that's for you now, for the lessons you learned.
And in the end, if somebody can't handle being in my frequency, the energy will just gently remove them and bring somebody else in. Yeah. You know, because I believe love is powerful, love is medicine, and love can heal. And
I believe love is the greatest power. It's the strongest power there is.
100%. And that's something that a lot of people have closed themselves up to because of fear of being hurt. Yeah. You know, but love is powerful. And that's what we need to understand, how powerful it is. So
you start by loving yourself. Yes. And if anyone's hearing this or you get nervous or scared, one thing I do, if you're dealing with any type of darkness out there, you know, and it's easy, but you trust the universe or God or whoever is your higher power. And I just say, please transmute this to the light. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have to do it, but just transmute this to the light and just keep moving forward like you're doing. And I'm so grateful for this hour. And like I started by saying, a picture says 1,000 words, and you sharing your story, people would not guess your story by looking at the covers of those magazines. Yes. That you too have struggles and takes discipline, and you've been through a lot. Yes. And I look forward to seeing your book. Thank you. I'm really grateful that you took the time out of your day to have this interview. Oh, it was my pleasure. And, help me to share and get my story out there. You know, all we can do is just take it one day at a time. Learn to love ourselves, forgive ourselves for the trauma and life experiences, and just keep moving forward and live in the moment. Yes. And if there's anyone that's hearing your story and really resonating and scared, would you be welcome to them reaching out to you on Instagram or Facebook or something? Oh, I welcome it. Okay. Just because you have such a unique story that it's really personal, and it is something people might hear and just think they just want to connect with you. And so you give them that permission to. Well, I have myself online, so I put myself out there somehow. Yeah, but to comment on your personal story or ask a personal question is I just want to make sure the listeners know. I'm out there, and I'm going to live my life freely. I'm going to let my light shine, because as I do that, you give permission to help others out of that darkness as well. Well, you are a queen, you are a warrior, and I'm grateful for this talk. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Angelina.